Okay, so I don't have much of a voice now, but I want to make the Daf Yomi video. I don't want to fall behind, so I'm gonna try to do as quickly as I can. It's a little bit of a long daf. It's an interesting daf. So let's. We said yesterday we ended off discussing the question of Bishul Akum and the source for Bishul Akum, for the prohibition against kosher, otherwise kosher food that is cooked by a non-Jew, and how that's considered to be not kosher under most circumstances, and what's the reason for it. So we end off element the Rabbanim Krav Asmacht Balma. So we end off saying that the prohibition against food cooked by a non-Jew is a rabbinical prohibition and not a biblical one. And all of the biblical verses that are supported are just a support for a biblical law, not the actual law. The Rashi says here, "Midrabanan shelo yehi Yisrael rogel etzlei v'machal mishta v'yichenu davar tamei." That the reason for rabbinical decree is because if a Jew winds up eating too much in a non-Jewish home, even if it's food that's kosher ingredients, the rabbis decreed that they're worried that they might wind up eating something not kosher. Taisvus here, on this side here, they bring something different. Perish Rashi, the Gosper Munishum, the Chayish Shem and Chum Dvarim Tmeim. That the worry is that the food might actually be non-kosher. Here's the Hanir Lefarish Atam Mishum Chasnus. Taisvus said it would make more sense to say that the reason for the prohibition is to avoid intermarriage. V'chein pershachi b'masnisin armari Avram bar David devare shlakus asur chachamim ksha'akum mevashlim meveisai alukshu mevashel beveisel shel Yisrael ein lachush loy lechasnus v'loy l'shem l'chenu dvarim tameim v'loy hoyd l'Rabbeinu Tam. So Rabbi Avram and Rabbi David said, I guess it's the Ravid, he holds that it's if the non-Jew is cooking in the Jew's home, there's no issue because all the food is kosher and there's no question of intermarriage. But Rabbeinu Tam disagreed. The Vade Kevin Sha'akum Avashal Lechalkal Klachachamim in Rishusa Yisrael Rishusa Akum Kiloilam Yesh Lachu Shem Yizar Kamavesa Shel Yisrael Kamavesa Shel Akum. Rabbeinu Tam said no. Even in the Jew's home, there could be worries that something's not kosher. Maybe they're going to mix meat and milk. Even those are two kosher items. When you mix them together, they're not kosher. Maybe that could be the issue. And that's how Rabbeinu Tam holds about Bishul Akum. There's a machlokes later in the Poskim, essentially though. So how do you what if you want to hire a non-Jewish cook to cook in your home? So according to the Ramah, as long as the Jew started the fire, even if he lit the pilot light, that's good enough. And according to the Bes Yosef, the Jew actually has to put the pot on the stove or stir it, and just turning on the fire is not enough. Of course, according to the Ramah, putting the food on the fire, stirring is also sufficient. It's more than sufficient. Some people think that it's only by turning on the fire, and if the non-Jew turned on the fire, then the whole thing's not kosher. No, it's the only thing is that when the Jew turns on the fire, it makes it easier for everything to be kosher, according to the Ramah. According to the Ashkenazic opinion, the Sephardic opinion is stricter. Weiter. Shmuel bar Yitzchak Amarav Kol Necha Kavoshu Chai Ein By Mishum B'Shulakum B'Shuleyakum. Shmuel bar Yitzchak said the name of Rav, anything that can be eaten raw is not prohibited as B'Shulakum, even if it was cooked by a non-Jew. B'Sura Masnu Hachi B'Vnisnu Masnu Hachi. So That's how they taught in Surah, but in Pumbedisa they taught it like this. Shmuel bar Yitzchak Amarav Kol She'eino Nechel Al Shulchan Malachim Lapis Place Apazin by Mishum B'Shulei Akum. So Shmuel bar Yitzchak's the name of Rav that whatever is not served together with bread on a royal banquet is not subject to the prohibition of food cooked by pagans or any Gentile or even a Jew who's not Shomer Shabbos is how we paskin today. So my benaya, so what's the difference? Ika benaya dagam katanim arde d'v'daisa. So the difference, what difference is there? Are there any foods that you can't eat raw, but are not served at the king's table? And he said, yeah. The small fish they don't serve at the king's table. Mushrooms, it seems they didn't serve at the king's table in porridge. They didn't serve in the king's table, and these foods are not eaten raw, but they're not served at the king's table. And so, according to the Chachamim and Pumbedisa, there might be there's no issue, but according to the Chachamim and Surah, there could be an issue. We paskin both leniencies, and that's the way we rule today. Is that if a food is neither if a food is eaten raw, even if it happens to be cooked, there's no issue with a non-Jew cooking it. Like apples, a baked apple, you could eat it. Onions, people eat raw onions, so cooked onions. And not because of Bishul Akum. And it's not served at the king's table. Though there's certain questions about, is it the type of food? Is it the way the food is prepared? For example, potato chips. Is it the din in the potato, which is served at the king's table and is not eaten raw? Or is it din in the chip? And generally, potato chips are not. Some people say canned foods today. In the White House, they don't use any canned foods in their kitchen, and so that's already, and even a state dinner, also, whatever is served at a state dinner today, it doesn't have to be a king, the president. It would seem it's the same din. I know Rav Elyashiv discussed that. Someone asked, "Do potato chips have a din of Bishul Akum?" So he asked, "Does Obama eat potato chips?" But I don't think that's really the question. If he sits on the couch eating potato chips, that's not what's called Shulchan Malachim. What's called a Shulchan Malachim is a state dinner. Does he serve potato chips at a state dinner? With all due respect to Rav Elyashiv, Zechron Levracha. Amarav Asi, Amarav, maybe, and perhaps I'm thinking when he said that he was joking around a little bit. So Amarav Asi, Amarav Dogim, Katan Maluchim, Ein Ben Mishum B'Shlei Akum. So Rav Asi said the name of Rav that small salted fish are not subject to the prohibition against Bishul Akum. Now they're salted, you can eat them without cooking them. Some of Yosef and Slon Akum, Seimich Aleihem, Mishum Ervei Tafshilin, V'Yevdina Akum Ba Kasdaharsana Aser. And he said you could even have small fish roasted by a non-Jew, and you can use the tray of tafshilin. And the same thing would seem like the whole question about bishul akum on tuna fish. And again, the canned tuna fish mustama, like we said, doesn't have a din of bishul akum because they don't use cans of tuna at a royal banquet. They only use fresh tuna that's cooked. But you can, when you make Erev Tavshilin, you need a cooked item and a baked item usually. is what we use. Maybe just one or the other is enough, but we're machmir to use both. So even if the non-Jew cooked the cooked item, it's good enough. You could take to make an Erev Tavshilin. You could take your can of tuna fish for Erev Tavshilin. But if the non-Jew made a fish hash mixed with flour, it's called kasa de harsana, something that was something made of fish fat and flour. It's a common dish mentioned many times in the Talmud also. That's an issue of bishul akum, and that you cannot use for Erev Tavshilin because it's not kosher. So pshita, that's obvious. Mao the same harsna ikar kamashmalon kimcha ikar. You might think it is okay, because you might think that the fish is the main ingredient of the kasa de harsana, but the answer is no. The flour is the main ingredient, and since flour is not edible raw, and it is something apparently was served at the king's table, that would be an isser of bishul akum. There's a whole question about cereals. The cereal that we buy in the store, is that's considered something that's bishul and not a fia. All right, we're not going to talk about that now. So Amar Bruna Marav Akum Shehitzis is a or ba'agam Kulachagam Sheba'agam Asurin. Let's now, apparently grasshoppers were good to eat roasted. So said if a pagan started a fire in a meadow, Brunas in the name of Rav, and they cooked up a whole bunch of grasshoppers, those grasshoppers are not kosher because they were cooked by a non-Jew. Echidami. So what are we talking about? Lame aliyada haitarve haitame. Miriakam and Felice Nami. So what are we talking about here? What if we don't know? They're all burnt up. You don't know what type of grasshopper they are. How do you know which ones are kosher and which ones are not? The differences between them, must have been burnt beyond recognition. You don't know what kind of grasshoppers live there. So Fili Nami, you don't know what type of grasshoppers. A Jew also couldn't eat those grasshoppers. But if it's about bishul akum, is that really the issue? It wasn't intention. He didn't intend to cook it. Shari Mine Afilo Marishune Amul Broiser Kamakavan. What if a pagan singes the head of a slaughtered animal to remove its hair? You can even eat from the tips of the ears. What's the issue there? Because the ears are soft and roasted from singeing it, and so it's cooked by a non-Jew. But maybe the intention was to remove the hair. So too, he wanted to clear out the meadow. He didn't want to cook some grasshoppers. So the fact of the matter is that it has nothing to do with bishul akum. It has to do with which grasshopper. You don't know which grasshoppers are kosher and which grasshoppers are not. And it's a story. It's an actual case that took place, and it was a non-Jew who lit the fire, and that was the issue. And that's the whole story, and it's nothing to do with bishul akum. And the whole reason why it's mentioned the pagan is because that's what happened in the case. And Gufa, the Gemara said, Amar Chanan Bar Ami Amar Rabbi Padas Amar Rabbi Yechanan Hai Akum the Charach Reishi Shem Mechem Malei Afilim Reish Unnai. So he said that if the pagan burns the head of an animal that's kosher slaughtered in order to remove the hair, because he wants the hair, you could even eat the ears that were cooked, the part that he cooked, because he didn't have an intent to cook the animal. Amar Rabbeinu Hilka Chayakum should have 6 tuna. Cover Yisrael Karamikara. Shaper Dame. Same thing, a Jew throws a peg in the oven and fires the oven to dry out the peg. Because the peg was wet, he wants to dry it out. So and a Jew put a gourd in there before the oven was fired. It's also kosher. Pshita, yeah, obviously. Now the same with Shemana Kamichavin. So he said, you might think he's trying to cook the peg, so he's trying to cook. It doesn't matter what he's cooking. He said, no, he's trying to strengthen the peg, so it doesn't matter. Weiter, let's try to finish this. I'm sorry, my voice is so dead. Amar of Yehuda Amar Shmuel Haniach Yisrael Bas Al Gabi Gichalim Va'akam Ha'hiprich Boi Mutter. If Yehuda said the name of Shmuel, if a Jew put meat on a top of coals on a barbecue, and the non-Jew turned it over, the meat is kosher. Pshita lav the yilay hapich lehav b'shil my mutter b'shulei shel akum ninhu. So if it would have cooked even without turning over, it's obviously be kosher. But what if it wouldn't have cooked without turning over? Why would it be kosher? It's b'shel akum like tzvicha. Now we need to say this why. The yilay hapich lehav b'shil b'sarte shoy v'ashtakuv b'shil b'chadash shaita. But the same kuv b'shul milsehi kumash malan. So he said, the case is where if it didn't turn, it would take 2 hours to cook. Turning it means it cuts the cooking time in half. You only have to cook it for 1 hour. So you would think that cutting the cooking time in half counts for bishul akum, and the answer is no. It's still kosher. That anything that's cooked by a Jew is Michael ben Drusoi. This is something we find again and again in halacha. Something that's cooked to the level where it's edible. In a rare case, there was a bandit ben Drusoi who would eat his food. Some say it was 1/3 cooked, or some say it was one halfway cooked. So either way, Michael ben Drusoi means that it's not fully cooked, but it's cooked enough to eat. And so once it's cooked that much, you don't have to worry about bishul akum. But what if it's not Michael ben Drusai yet? Then it is still bishul akum. Hasam k'koin da'is v'besilsa. V'shakli akum da'is v'besinura. So what if you put the partially cooked food in a basket, and the pagan went and put it in the oven to finish cooking? So it was already Michael ben Drusai, and then he finished it. It would have, if he would have kept it there, it wouldn't have. Meaning it wasn't yet. It was already Michael ben Drusai, but it wasn't yet. But then he took it out, and then the pagan put it back in. So, all right, still it's kosher. Still it's kosher. Tani Namar Hachi. So we have a brayso that teaches like this. Maniach Yisrael basal gavi gecholm v'akam v'mahapich b'y. Achiyova Yisrael and Beis Knesset and Beis Medrash v'ein achoysh shefeses isha k'deira al gavi kira v'as akim v'edes kechavim. A brayso that you could put meat on top of the coals, and then the Jew is going to go to shul and daven, and let the non-Jew turn over the meat. He doesn't have to worry. And a woman could put a pot on her stove on top of her oven, and a non-Jewish woman can come in Megisa and stir the pot. And now we're on Amud Beis. So let's, turn the page. Megisa at Shabbos mi beis merchotz mi beis haKnesses v'ein chasheshes. And wait till she comes in a shuk, from the bathhouse, from the market, from the synagogue. You don't have to worry. It's interesting. The woman only goes to synagogue but doesn't go to Beis Medrash. The man could go to synagogue with the Beis Medrash. Just pointing out. Boilahu. So they asked, I'm talking that's how it was in old days. I'm not saying that's how it has to be now. So they asked, what about pagan putting the meat on and the Jew turning it. Would that be kosher? So it should be obvious that all the more so, says Reb Nachman Yitzchak, that if it was finished by the non-Jew, if it's finished by the Jews, and all the more so. So it Mernami. So the same thing. We have these like par-baked items. Could be called Pas Yisrael if the Jew finishes baking them. Mernami Rabbi Bar Chana Rabbi Yechanan. From Lama Rav Acha Bar Chana Rabbi Yechanan. So it's either Rabbi Bar Chana and Rabbi Yechanan or Acha Bar Chana and Rabbi Yechanan. Ben Shniach Akum Vipich Yisrael. Ben Shniach Yisrael Vipich Akum Mutter. Where the pagan put it first and the Jew turned it, or the Jew put it first and the pagan turned it over, it's kosher. The only way it's not kosher is if the non-Jew did the whole thing. He started it and he finished it. So too is the Ravina said the halacha, like we said, this is how the Ramah paskins about Pas Yisrael. Bread where the non-Jew started the fire and the Jew put the bread in, or the Jew started the fire and the non-Jew put the bread in. Or even if the non-Jew started the fire, put in the bread, and the Jew stirred the coals, shaper dummy, then it's also kosher. So too is with Bishul Yisrael. Even if the beginning and end was done by the pagan and the Jew just came and stirred the coals or stirred the pot or did something involved in the cooking process, it's kosher. All right. So Dag Maliach. Where are we? Dag Maliach. Dag Maliach. All right. The salted fish. Chazaka, Ochizkia, Shari, Rabbi Yechon Aser. What if a non-Jew salts the fish? Chizkia says kosher, Rabbi Yechon said not. Beitz Tzluya. What if a non-Jew roasts an egg? Bar Kappa Shari, Rabbi Yechon Aser. Bar Kappa says it's kosher and Rabbi Yechon says not. And no one says it's because some people swallow eggs raw that makes it kosher. That's something that's brought in the poskim, that it's not considered food that's eaten normally raw, and so that's Keser Dima Echad Dagmliach ve'Echad Beitz Tzliach Hizkiya Bar Kappa Shari Rabbi Yechon Nasar. Reb Dimi, when he came to Babylonia from Israel, he said concerning both salted fish and roasted egg, Chizkiya and Bar Kappa say they're kosher if a non-Jew makes them. And Rabbi Yechon said they're not. Rabbi Chia, are we still running? So where is Rabbi Chia? Somewhere over here. Rabbi Chia Parvoa. Rabbi Chia Parvoa, Ikla Reish Galusa. Rabbi Chia Parvoa went to the house of the exilarch, of the head of the exile, of the prince of the Jewish people in Babylonia. Again, this brings up the fact that we had a Reish Galusa, shows that we could have a government in a capital city and not outside of Jerusalem, and that Jerusalem was not the eternal capital. Amrulei Beitz Tzliyamai. It was it's our eternal holy city, but not our eternal capital. So Beitz Tzliyamai. So the halacha of a non-Jew cooking a roasted egg. Amalahu Chizkiya Bar Kappa Shav Rabbi Yechon Osar. So he said, like we just said, Chizkiya and Bar Kappa say it's kosher, Rabbi Yechon said not kosher. Vein dvarav shalachet b'makam shnayim. So if we have, why does this keep turning off? So if you have two who say it's kosher and one it's not, so it should be kosher. Amalahu Rivzvid like Tetzitzulay. Rivzvid said, no, don't listen. Hachi Amar Baya Hilchas Kavaseder Rabbi Yechanan. Baya said that the halach is like Rabbi Yechanan. That's not kosher. Ashkyu Negoite the Chalav Nachnafshe. They gave him a cup of vinegar to drink, and he died. His soul left him. It seems that they poisoned him for being too strict. There's other ways to understand what this means, but it seems that there were some not too good people as is often the case in the house, the seat of government. People working there or whatever, the aides to the exilarch. Taner Rabbanan. Let's try to go through this quickly. Rabbis taught in the Brisa. Hakfrisen, v'kaflutais, v'hemtalia, v'chamen, v'kloyos, shalahen mutarin, ketzat liya surah, Beitzat Sliya Surah, Shemin Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi Veisinai Nimno Love Tiruhu. So, list of the following foods are kosher, cooked by non-Jews: husks that cover caper berries, leeks, hemtalia, hot water and parched foods, parched grain, something like that. Those are kosher. Roasted egg is not kosher, so we see roasted egg is not kosher. Oil, Rabbi Yehuda Hanasi, but we know that's Rabbi Yehuda Nasiya, and his Bezdin, they took a vote and they said it's kosher. Tanya, he hemtalia, he Pisilia, he shiasa. Hemtalia is Pisilia, which is shiasa, my shiasa. So what is shiasa? Amar Rabbi Bachana, Rabbi Yechanan, Harabin Shnin Denafik Hai Uvda Mitzrayim. Rabbi Bachana the day Amar Hashitin Shnin Denafik Hai Uvda Mitzrayim. Rabbi Bachana said, name of Yechanan, it was 40 years since we heard the story in Egypt, and Rabbi Bachana said himself, no, it was 60 years. V'lei pligi Mar B'shnei Umar B'shnei. Each one said according to his own years, because Rabbi Bachana said this 20 years later. Maisu Bizra, the Karpsa, Bizra the Chitana, Bizra Shavlilta, Sarlo Bade Adadi B'Sharei, Shav Kolai the Makbal, Maisi Chatz V'Chadete, Malu Maya, Sarbu Gargishta, Umadbekin Bey, Failan Beybani, and Nafku Malavale, Vachlamanayo, Vikarim Binta, Twishara Tufa de Karayo. They bought seeds, cress, flax, and fenugreek, soaked them in lukewarm water, left them there to grow. They got some new barrels, filled them with water, put clay in them. For the seeds on the clay, it's kind of like a chia pet, is what it sounds like, right? And they put the seeds next to it, and they went to the bathhouse, and these seeds grew so quickly that by the time they came out of the bathhouse, they had grown, and they cooled them off from their hair on their heads, the toenails of their feet, even the dead parts of the body, were cooled off after the heat from the bathhouse. Amar Vashi, Amli B'Chanina Milan. So Rashi said that these are just words that Ruchnina is saying. That's not true. Plants don't grow that fast. So Amar B'Milin. So now he said, no, not that they're just mere words. It's with words that they were able to do it. They said some kind of a magic spell, and that's how this apparently miraculous event took place. Taner Rabbanan, rabbis taught Hakus ben Shalakum Shucham Ucham V'Yer Gedol Asa V'Yer Katan Mutter. We should point out, what does it mean with words? There have been studies, scientific studies recently, that show the power of words on plants and water and different things on a molecular level. And these have been demonstrated scientifically and reproduced through the scientific method throughout the world. So it's not really magic. So the rabbis from the Brisa, there's beer made out of like leftovers from dates, from date fruits. If the pagans made, if the hot water was in a large pot, it's not kosher, but if the hot water is boiled in a small pot, it's kosher. The large pot might have cooked something else, it's not kosher. The small pot is only used for that, and that's why it's kosher. Veza here, katana wood. How small is a small pot? I call she'ein tzipor dror yochel lekanas b'seicha. So a small pot is the small bird, called a freedom bird, a liberty bird, which is a small bird that can't go into the pot. Because even though it's a kosher bird, they probably didn't slaughter it kosher, and they could have cooked it in there, and would have made the pot not kosher. That's the smallest meat item that might have been cooked in there. So maybe just the head of the bird can't fit in, because even the piece of the bird might be cooked in there. But we have a different brisa that no, it doesn't matter if it's a big pot or a small pot, it's kosher. The kasha is, it's not a question. How command amar noisen tam lefkam aser? How the command amar noisen tam lefkam mutter? And the question is, if the taste is already ruined, is it still is it make it kosher or not? Is it not kosher? Is it kosher? And meaning the non-kosher flavor in the walls of the pot, and this is a whole question. We're going to get to this later in the Gemara, so we're not going to talk about it now, but it's a very major thing. That's one of the things you learn when you're studying to be ordained as a rabbi, is the question of not barnat de ter, not barnat de surah, all these questions of nois and tam lefkam, things like that. Rav Sheshis said, "Haimishcha shlika darmoi aser." Boiled oil from Arameans is not kosher. Amar of Safra, l'may nechu shlei, imishum iruve, misri sari, imishum b'shlei akum, nechu kuzukum shmoy shuchai, imishum guli akum, this time of gamu hu mutter. So why wouldn't it be kosher? Are you worried they're going to mix wine in there? The wine would ruin it. Are you worried about bishul akum? You could eat it. You could eat it raw. That's not the issue. Are you worried about the pot is not kosher? It ruins the flavor of the non-kosher pot. That's not, so it should be kosher. So bomine Rabbi Asi Yahani Yahine Shliki Adamaya Mai. So it's not kosher, but they say it should. There's no reason for it not to be kosher. But what about cooked dates by Arameans? So chulila t'boilach t'vadi sharu. So sweet dates, you can eat those raw. That's not an issue. Mirelai t'boilach t'vadi asirei. Raw date, bitter dates, you can't eat them until they're cooked. Vadi asirei, they're not kosher because it's bishalakum, and it's something that's served at the king's table, and it's not eaten raw, so it's not kosher. Say my. But what about like the medium? They're not too sweet, not too bitter dates. My. Some who might tavoy the Rebbe Asar Manu Levi. So he said, what's the question? Rebbe prohibited him. Who's Rebbe? Usually Rebbe is prohibited Nasi, but here it's not. It's Levi. Shasiyah. Shasi Sa'ah. Shasi Sa'ah. What's the halach of Shasi Sa'ah? What's Shasi Sa'ah? It's a dish of flour kernels that were parched in an oven. Sometimes with parched lentil. It's flour from parched lentils. You might add vinegar or whatever. So Rav Shari Avodah Shmuel V'Levi Asri. So Rav says kosher, and the father of Shmuel and Levi both said it's not kosher. B'chita v'sari. If it's this dish is made of wheat or barley, kolayam l'pliga d'shari. Everyone agrees it's kosher. Chala. If it's made with lentils and vinegar, kolayam l'pliga d'aser. Everyone agrees it's not kosher. K'pliga d'slavche d'maya. What if it's with lentils and water? So Shmuel's father and Levi, who were strict, they say because of the vinegar ones, we also say the water ones are not kosher. And Rav says no, there's a difference between water and vinegar, and it's fine. Some say like this: so it comes with lentils and water. Everyone agrees is not kosher. So what are we arguing? Rab Chita B'Sari, Mar Savar Gazrinan, Ha to Ha, Mar Savar Gazrinan. But then there's those say no, all the lentil ones are not kosher. It's just the wheat or barley one. That the lentil ones with water or with vinegar are not kosher. But the shisi made of wheat or barley, the strict opinion says not kosher, and that's the Shmuel and his father Avodah Shmuel and Levi. And the other one, Mar, holds this kosher because they don't make a decree about wheat and barley about just because of lentils. So Amar Rav, Sheminish saw the Shadar Barzila Galadila David, the Chsemishka Vesabas Kliyotz Vechitim Veserm and Kemach Kvali Full Vadashim Okali. So there's a story in the Bible in 2 Samuel 17 where Barzilai the Gileadite was helping David and his soldiers when they were running away from Absalom, from Avshalom. They were hungry, and he brought them food, and he brought them two types of shisi'ah. It says he brought bedding, bowls, pottery, wheat, barley, flour, parched kernels, beans, lentils, and parched kernels. Twice it says parched kernels, so it means from two different types. So we see there's an old history to this type of food, and but he says people always take out baskets of shisha from non-Jews, always in Arda, and nobody's worried about Avodah Shmuel and Levi's chumrah. So that's so it seems like they're kosher. Kvash and shadarkan seis b'seich and yayin. What about preserves? Would they put wine or wine vinegar in it? So those are not kosher, but they're not aser b'hanoah. Chizkiah. So Chizkiah said like this: Leishana ol shadarkan al biyadua aser fil b'hanoah. So he said that's only if we don't know if they put in wine or wine vinegar. But if we know, then you can't even have enough from it because it's yain nesach. So ma'ishna memorias. How's it different? We're talking about this fish guts food, morias, shara banabanoah, that the rabbi say you could have benefit from it even if you can't eat it. Hasam memorias a hama. Hachal matuke taima. So with murias, they put in wine to remove a bad smell. So it's not for drinking the wine, but here it's to make it taste sweeter. So that's it's a tam l'shvach. It makes it better. It doesn't just remove something negative. So Riyachanan Afilu do Nami Mutter. But Riyachanan says, even you know that it's wine or vinegar, you can have benefit from it. But according to Meir, Morius is Aser Bahano. You can't even have benefit. It's prohibited to have benefit from it because of wine. So why is this you are allowed to have benefit? You can't drink, you can't eat it, but you get benefit. So Hasam Nidiyam Mamashay, Hachalay Mamashan. Because with Morius, you know it's wine. It's clear that we're dealing with wine here, but with preserves, it's not. So that's why. So I'm gonna save my voice, and hopefully tomorrow we'll do the next stuff. All right, thank you for watching. God bless. Please like, share, and subscribe. Comment. All the best. Take care.